Before the season started, I dropped videos trying to predict the Eastern and Western Conference standings. And in those videos, I made 3 bold predictions. And I'm putting it in quotation marks because my bold predictions are not too outlandish, at least in my mind. But at the end of the day, these were bold predictions. Number 1 was that the Cleveland Cavaliers will steal one of the top 3 seeds out east and become a contender. As of today, they are the last undefeated team in basketball at 9-0. Prediction number 2, maybe my most disliked prediction that I've ever made across any platform, was that the Phoenix Suns would finish with a top 2 seed out west. The comment section, the Twitter screenshots was like Kenny that lost his marbles. He been hanging out with some of the TV guys too much. What is going on? As of today, they are 7-1. They're winning every single clutch game. I don't know if that's realistic. They'll do that all season long. But as of today, they're 7-1. And the last prediction was about the Warriors. There are so many teams that going into the season were on an even playing field, that if you talk to different people, what team will be a top 6 seed, what team will be a play-in, there were varying responses. You got the Warriors, the Rockets, the Kings, the Grizzlies, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Spurs, the Pelicans. And of those 8 teams, I believe that the Golden State Warriors would be the team to avoid the play-in and steal one of the top 6 seeds. And as of today, they are 7-1. Now, this is not a victory lap video by any means. We're still 2 weeks into the season. By April, all 3 of these predictions could be completely wrong. But I got a few tweets after the Warriors win against the Boston Celtics asking Kenny, what did you see in this Warriors team to make you believe that they were good enough to do the things that they're doing? And as crazy as it sounds, a lot of this is me really having a, what is it called? A fine-tooth comb when it came to watching preseason. I'm a guy that's told y'all before that preseason is everything and nothing at the exact same time. The preseason was a big catalyst for a lot of these predictions. I also looked at last season with a bunch of context, adding the context to them getting a new coach in Cleveland, the context of the Phoenix Suns not having a point guard or a coach that ran a good offense, like a lot of different stuff, but it was really preseason basketball. So here's a tweet I made. All preseason, it's been looking like the Warriors offense has evolved again. IDK, how to explain it. And then I remembered that the Warriors added Jerry Stackhouse and Terry Stotts as assistant coaches. And I think both of these guys have completely evolved the Golden State Warriors, which is crazy to say. Now, going into the season, Jeff Van Gundy was one of the most high-profiled assistant coach signings in maybe the history of basketball, and he's with the Clippers, and you can see his mark on that Clippers team where, I mean, defensively, they're getting after it every single night, and their offense has not come together completely, but the defense is keeping them in a lot of games, and they're hoping that James Harden can take them home once they get down to the nitty-gritty. You can see exactly his philosophies being incorporated with the Clippers. And he was the highest profile signing, and I guess, at least in my mind, the Jerry Stackhouse and the Terry Stotts thing completely went under the radar. So the bulk of my predictions pretty much came down to Terry Stotts. And me watching the stuff that was being ran for the Golden State Warriors in the preseason, how much it reminded me of the Portland Trailblazers of Dame and CJ, and how they were able to maximize some random role players into smaller guards. And of course, the personnel is completely different between the Golden State Warriors and that older Portland Trailblazer team, but a lot of the stuff that they ran, I thought would be able to transition its way to the Warriors, and it has. But I don't even know if Terry Stotts is the most important signing of the two, because Jerry Stackhouse has this defense looking crazy. As of today, they are the 2nd-ranked defense in all of basketball, only behind the OKC Thunder. And here's a quote from Draymond Green. He's adding a fire and a level of accountability to us on the defensive end. He came in kind of implementing some different defensive rules. If you know anything about the NBA, we all run the same stuff. He's coming back from college, obviously Stack's a vet. He came in with a couple different rules where everyone's like, but he was so confident and he was so vocal about it. And every time you got it wrong, he's teaching you. That's not it. I know you've done it that way. That's not it. And when someone comes in with that type of force, with that type of confidence and presence, as a player, you have no choice but to believe it. He's giving the guys a level of confidence on the defensive end that we haven't had, but more importantly, a level of accountability that we haven't had over the last couple years. And yesterday, they won a game against the Boston Celtics. Now, the Celtics didn't have Jaylen Brown or Porzingis, but still, the Celtics have been one of the more dominant teams in all of basketball and was the most dominant team in basketball last season. And I am a believer that you cannot win a basketball game with one great quarter of play, but damn, you could get real close to winning a game. And that's what happened last night in the 2nd quarter for the Golden State Warriors. Now, you know that the Boston Celtics in a lot of cases are a make or miss team. that they're going to generate so many open looks for threes that it's just a matter of will they get a good bounce or will they not. And you can attribute some of that to what happened last night where we did get to that second quarter and they were generating sometimes very good looks and it just happened to be a bad night for Peyton Pritchard. But they also just made it so very difficult where the pass that was there when they played against the Atlanta Hawks 2 nights before wasn't there. And now this Golden State Warriors team is one of the top teams in deflections where their hands, their feet, everything is moving in unison. It's kind of a beauty to watch if you're a defensive-minded guy. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it is Jerry Stackhouse is doing that's different than the other 29 teams in basketball, like Draymond Green says. Pods was asked about it after their game against the Pelicans, and he said he don't want to give the secret sauce, but apparently schematically they're doing something differently this year compared to any other year, something differently that all the other teams in basketball are doing. And I guess my little pea brain can't really put it together because it looks pretty similar to some other stuff other teams run. It's just working. But one of the reasons I enjoy watching this team, and I also made a video kind of ranking the watchability of all teams in basketball. And before the season started, I had the Warriors as an S-tier team. The reason I had that is because Steph Curry's so damn fun to watch. But they also are running a rotation that you normally don't see good teams run. When you're Monty Williams of the Detroit Pistons of last year, you can afford, well, not really, you can't afford to run a 10-man rotation. He got fired. But like when you're a bad team trying to figure out who you are and trying to figure out if this second round pick is worthy enough to be on this team next season, running a 12-man rotation feels relatively normal. But when you're a team that's 7-1 trying to compete for a playoff spot, running the 12-man rotation is crazy. But Coach Steve Kerr has kind of run these things to perfection. And maybe it's only looked like it's to perfection because they're winning. Like if they happen to be a 500 team, I'm sure there'll be so many articles written up about how a 12-man rotation doesn't work. But as of today, it feels like, and I'm not a guy that's watched a ton of hockey in my life, it feels like these players are on like hockey shifts. 3 minutes here, 4 minutes here, 5 minutes here. And because of that, they're always fresh. You're never going to face a tired Golden State Warriors team because even Steph Curry is only averaging 27 minutes per game, which is the lowest of his career. Like, I guess the year that he got injured, but that's only an outlier because he got injured early in his 5th game. So basically a career low in minutes per game. Even as a rook, he was averaging more minutes. This is a team that's gonna go. And it makes sense to me because physical fatigue can lead to mental fatigue, which can lead to mistakes and this and missed rotations. And no, not with the Golden State Warriors as of today. And I think another one of the reasons why they have looked so good is some players that may have been counted out over the last couple seasons are back. Wiggins, his impact is as big right now as it was in his All-Star season. Kevon Looney looked like he had fallen off a cliff completely. This season, he's a little bit slender, and though he's not playing a ton of minutes per game, you can really see his impact. I think last night he played 15 minutes, but he had 6 points, he had 10 rebounds. He was a really, really impactful player. And boy, we got to talk about Mr. Hield. Buddy Hield is having a resurgence now. If you have been a Pacers fan or a Kings fan, you maybe not seen it to this extent, but you've seen a Buddy Hield start that looks crazy, looks phenomenal. Then eventually he'll lose the favor of his coach, and then he's not out of the rotation, but he's playing only 15 or 20 minutes. This Buddy Hield right now is the best version of himself. This is what the Buddy Hield experience had been like. He goes to a new team. He plays like a top 5 shooter in the league, forgets how to shoot and refuses to play defense. Thank God for life, strength, and health and strength. Why is this picture so small? Warriors fans have now taken it and said, no. This is what the new Buddy Hield cycle is. He gonna balls out. Oh, that's different. And for a guy like Buddy Hield, it's easy to play defense when you're averaging 20 points per game. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to get down in that chair and play great defense, play good defense, when you also hitting every shot that goes up. 21 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 51% from the field. We gonna round up for you, buddy. Oh, sorry, 52% from the field, 51% from 3. But again, that's unrealistic for him to shoot 50, 50, 90 on the season. But he has been phenomenal. And we also have to talk about Draymond Green, who before the season started said on, I think it was his podcast, everybody's talking about Chet, everybody's talking about Wemby, don't forget about Draymond. And as of today, Draymond has as good of a case as anybody when it comes to DPOY. And Draymond, in my mind, has already been one of the best defensive players of my lifetime as an NBA fan. And he continues to add to that resume that at the age of 34, as a 6'6" power forward continues to be able to guard practically anybody on the court given the possession. Also, just such a defensive coach on the court. And you're seeing that time and time again. He's pointing, he's calling things out, and he has been phenomenal. One of the other reasons why I picked the Golden State Warriors out of all the teams to avoid the play-in and be one of the better teams is that when Draymond Green played, they were on pace to win 50-plus games. It just so happened that he decided to become a real-life WWE wrestler and get suspended because of it. So if Draymond Green can stay healthy and stay out of trouble, and he says himself that he's ending the season with less than 10 techs, I don't know if that's true, then this team, in my mind, was poised to be one of those teams that overachieve. And I haven't mentioned that Brandon Podziemski has not been able to hit a shot just yet. I would assume he gets back to nearly his career averages. It's funny to say career averages. He's only been in the league 1 year. Or even a guy like Jonathan Kuminga, who wanted the max contract and is now coming off the bench, still hasn't looked like the greatest version of himself. He did have a couple really good games when Steph Curry was out with his ankle injury, but nonetheless, I expect him to look better as the season continues to progress. The real question is, does this, and this is what my producer Greg asked me last night. Speaking of that, we dropped a new episode of our podcast today. My producer is a Golden State Warriors fan, and he texted me last night. He said, hey, with them playing so well and playing with so many depth pieces, does it make it easier or harder for a coach, I'm sorry, he's not a coach, for Mike Dunleavy to try to make big time moves? What a great podcast episode. You should go check it out. It's really cool. It's me talking about basketball, and I love basketball. So yeah, does it make it easier or harder for Mike Dunleavy to call these other teams as other teams start to get worse and they start to get better? I don't really know. And even though they are 7-1 and doing great things, I still can't put them in my contention tier just yet, because I think they need a secondary offensive threat outside of Buddy Hield averaging 20 on 50-50 splits. So does it make it easier for Mike Dunleavy to pick up the phone and say, hey, we're willing to make the trades, or will they fall in love with the 12-man rotation? I don't really know. But the Golden State Warriors have been phenomenal so far this season, and I can't wait to see if they continue to do that, because the schedule is a gauntlet. Cavs, Thunder, Mavericks, Grizzlies, Clippers, Hawks. Okay, so let's just look at these. Let's look at these next 4 games. All 4 of these games should be very, very interesting. And it'll really give us an idea of if this team is one of the contenders in basketball or just a really good regular season story.